my name is Holly Seacon and I'm an associate editor here at GreenBiz. Today I'm here in GreenBiz studio with Emilio Tenuta from Ecolab. Emilio, I know that Ecolab and GreenBiz have worked together a lot in the past, and we've done a lot of reports and surveys together on some green water, blue water, but making water circular and how the circular economy relates to water risks. And how do you see some of the water trends that you've talked about today at Circularity and also in our report?
Well, that's a great point. I think that the way, from our vantage point at Ecolab, and we're the global leader in water, hygiene, and energy technologies, we see water as really that missing component in the whole circular economy discussion. It's obviously so vital to the global economy if you think about how material it is. Water touches everything, from the products to the services that we use every day. And so, we're behind the scenes and we see some of the challenges and opportunities to circular water, which is something that we see as an opportunity for us to really drive that type of action, namely because we have this looming crisis by 2030, which is just 11 years from now, of a 40% freshwater gap when it comes to supply and demand. The challenge is that conservation alone isn't enough. And so we need to think about this. In fact, less than 3% of the wastewater is actually reclaimed and reused today in the world. And so that gives us an opportunity to really start to think about reuse and recycle technologies that enable us to really become more resilient to these water scarcity and water stress issues that businesses see today. And I really believe businesses and industry have to be part of the equation to really solve this global challenge.
And I know that Ecolab does a lot with context setting around water. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think that industry has for years set targets. In fact, the survey that you mentioned earlier was really the impetus for it was really driven by the State of Green Business report earlier this year that showed that indeed companies were setting targets, more companies, over the last 5 years, and also disclosing their risks. That's the good news. The bad news is that water usage from that report was going up. And so what we see is that the challenge is that there's a gap, an execution gap. And we saw that from the survey, the GreenBiz survey that we did together a couple months ago, that really identified that for companies with $1 billion or more of revenue, that they are prioritizing water over the next 3 years in terms of taking action. The challenge was that half of them didn't have a plan at the local level to get it done, which is where it needs to happen. And so context-based targets give us a way to really start to think about those priority watersheds where businesses are operating today, and really focusing on driving action in those local areas where water's at risk, whether it be quantity or quality. That's because water's local, and so we need local solutions. And so context-based gives us the opportunity to really focus on those priority areas.
And so what advice would Ecolab give to other companies that are looking to talk about their water and start to bring their water in a more circular direction?
Well, I really believe that it comes down to 4 areas. First, it starts with a really compelling and robust corporate water strategy that starts off with an assessment. And there's a number of tools that can be used at an enterprise level to get to the priority segments that we need to focus on. The Water Risk Monetizer is a tool that we launched 5 years ago with Microsoft and S&P TrueCost. That really gets to the full value of water, which is one of the barriers that we see toward driving smart water management. The second is addressing the execution gap. Once you figure out where those hotspots are, how do you then drive action at that local level? So we created, a few months ago, we released a tool, a publicly available tool called Ecolab Smart Water Navigator. And that tool enables us to identify where facilities are anywhere in the world for industry to really drive a smart water management strategy along a water maturity curve. And the idea is that you need to first know where you are in order to improve and move to a desired end state that's a lot more water resilient than it is today. And then finally, it comes to collaboration. It's something we hear a lot about here at Circularity. It's how we can work together as industry and priority watersheds where we're all operating and really drive more collective action together than we could individually. And so I think those are some of the areas that companies can take to really start to move the needle on water use.
Well, thanks so much. That was so interesting. It's been great to have you here in Greenbiz studio at Circularity 19, and thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.